We've all been in that spot. You're staring at a product on a shelf, trying to make a choice, but you have no real way to know what you're actually getting. You can't see the durability of a hiking boot. You can't taste the wine before you buy the bottle. And you definitely can't tell if a new fridge is going to last 10 years just by looking at it. For any business, this is a huge challenge. So, with all this missing information, how in the world do customers actually make a decision? Seriously, think about it for a second. You're in a store faced with two options you've never tried. What do? You don't have time to run a spreadsheet analysis, right? You don't have all the data. So your brain, well, it does what it does best. It takes a shortcut. And that's it, right there. You draw an inference. It's a simple, incredibly powerful, and almost entirely subconscious process. We use the little bits of information we can see to make a judgment call about all the important stuff we can't. And mastering this, understanding how and why your customers make these mental leaps, is one of the most powerful tools you can have in your strategic arsenal. This whole process really unfolds in two primary, and kind of surprising, opposite ways. So first up, let's talk about a phenomenon you've almost certainly experienced, probably without even noticing it. It's called the halo effect. The best way to think about it is like a golden glow, where one single positive thing about a product suddenly makes everything else about it seem better too. At its core, the halo effect is your brain's assumption that if something is good at one thing, well, it's probably good at other things too. It's the exact same reason we might subconsciously assume a good-looking person is also smarter or friendlier. And in the world of products, this cognitive shortcut is a huge lever for brands to pull. So, what's the most common signal that brands use to create this halo? It's almost always price. We seem to be hardwired with this belief that if something costs more, it has to be better. A higher price infers higher quality, better service, a more premium experience, the whole deal. And this classic slogan from Stella Artois is just the perfect example. They didn't just accept that they had a high price point. They basically weaponized it. They turned the cost into the main signal of quality. The message was clear. It's expensive because it's worth it. It's just a masterful use of that price-quality inference. But look, this halo doesn't just come from the price tag. A rock-solid brand reputation, think Michelin, creates a halo of durability around its tires. A health claim like low fat can create a halo of being low calorie, even if that's not actually true. Even something like a company's charitable work can cast a halo over its products, making us feel like they're just better. Now, check out these examples. When Cadbury simply made its chocolate bars a little bit rounder, customers started complaining that the recipe had gotten too sweet, even though absolutely nothing about the recipe had changed. That round shape created a sweetness halo. Or get this, in one study, people who drank a cocktail that was explicitly labeled vodka Red Bull said they felt more intoxicated and even took more risks than people who drank the exact same cocktail that was just labeled vodka. The Red Bull brand name alone was powerful enough to create a very real psychological effect. So the takeaway here is pretty clear. Smart brands use the halo effect to make invisible qualities feel visible and real. They use these tangible cues, price, shape, brand names, to build a story around qualities you can't see, like reliability, or effectiveness, or even taste. But what if the most powerful signal isn't a positive one? What if the absolute best strategy is to do the complete opposite? And this brings us to a strategy that feels completely counterintuitive. It's not about projecting that golden glow at all. Instead, it's about performing a very delicate balancing act, where you actually shine a spotlight on a negative. And the simple answer to that is yes, absolutely. In fact, strategically admitting one of your flaws can be one of the most persuasive things your brand can possibly do. Let me show you what I mean. This whole idea is driven by something called a compensatory inference. It's our deep-seated gut feeling that there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? If something seems a little too perfect, we get suspicious. We automatically assume that a strength in one area must be balanced out by a weakness somewhere else. Volkswagen's legendary campaign for the Beetle is the absolute masterclass in this. By calling their own car a lemon or running ads that said, "It's ugly, but it gets you there," they did something totally brilliant. They admitted the obvious aesthetic flaws to powerfully signal what really mattered. This car had incredible reliability and engineering. Avis did the exact same thing. They took their biggest weakness, being number 2 to Hertz, and they twisted it into their greatest strength. The inference? Well, because we're not the biggest, our service has to be better. We have to try harder. We have to earn it. And this one might be the most direct example of all. The Canadian cough syrup Buckley's built its entire brand on this simple idea that terrible taste isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's the proof, the signal that the medicine is powerful and it's going to get the job done. You see, this strategy taps right into our psychology. We instinctively believe that something that tastes as bad as Listerine must be effective at killing germs. We assume a sunscreen brand literally called No Ad is passing all those advertising savings onto us in the form of better value. These brands aren't fighting these beliefs. They are leaning right into them. But there's a hidden benefit here that is just incredibly important. When a company admits a flaw, it's disarming. It just makes them seem more honest, more trustworthy. It's pretty hard to argue with a company that already agrees with you that its product tastes terrible. That kind of transparency builds this powerful bond of credibility. Okay, so we have these two powerful yet totally opposite psychological tools at our disposal. The key is to understand that using them is a deliberate, strategic choice. It's all about consciously deciding which narrative you want your customers to infer. So let's put these two strategies right next to each other. The halo, or the golden glow strategy, it's an amplifying force. One strength implies excellence everywhere else. This is the natural move for a premium brand like Apple, where that sleek design implies superior performance. On the other hand, the compensatory, or perfect flaw strategy, is a balancing act. It uses an admitted weakness to signal an even greater, unshakable strength. And that's the classic playbook for a challenger brand like Avis, or a purely functional products like Buckley's. So how do you actually apply this stuff strategically? Well, it really just boils down to a three-step process. First, you have to clearly identify the key value that your customers can't see. Is it durability? Is it effectiveness? Quality? Second, you choose your path. Are you going to create a halo from an obvious strength, or are you going to highlight a specific flaw to signal an even bigger hidden strength? And finally, you have to signal that choice relentlessly and consistently across every single touchpoint, from your pricing to your packaging to your advertising. Ultimately, whether you realize it or not, your customers are already drawing inferences about your brand. They're filling in the blanks on their own. The only real question left is whether you're going to be the one who guides that story. So, what invisible narrative are you crafting for them?